Okay, so we said we weren't going to do it live. We're doing it live anyway. I got a plane to catch. JB, why do you make me do this? Why are you putting me through this morning at 5:45 a.m. basically?
This was my idea.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what, Frank? The reason why we're doing this is because even though the rest of the players in the nation are probably all tucked warmly in their beds, every single football coach that we know that watches this show has probably been up since about 4:30 or 5 o'clock. Even our pal Kevin Gilmartin, who had another big win last night in Newport. His team is 2-0. They haven't allowed a touchdown in 8 quarters. I bet you even though he has a victory Friday because they won last night, I bet you he's still up looking at tape for the next game. They got Rochester coming to town. No rest for the weary. So to all you coaches up there who've been grinding since 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, good. We're here for you.
Amen to that. We got to get this started. I got to catch a plane to San Antonio to 104-degree heat. You're watching Season 16. Oh, yeah, really lovely. Season 16 of In the Huddle. We're not going to fool around here. We're going to go straight to our first slide here, talk about Region 1, and then jump into some interviews from last night because there was a game in Region 1 played that I attended. First things first here, as you can see on the screen, some big games. The Framingham State Salve Regina game was the game I attended and was the only game, I think, nationally on Thursday night this week, besides the NFL game that the Lions, we were just talking, shocked the Chiefs, yep. But I mean, we have the same game here, Ithaca versus Endicott. This is a huge game, and it's actually a 1 versus 2 matchup, of course. But what else are you seeing on this list that you might want to point out to folks?
Well, I think from a New England perspective, Husson and Springfield have had a pretty good rivalry over the years. Both good programs, sort of been standard bearers for the area for a long time. And so I'm looking forward to seeing how that shakes out. FDU Florham against Widener in the MAC is definitely interesting, as well as good old Gallaudet and Merchant Marine. That game may only take about an hour and 30 minutes to get done with all the running plays that are going to be going on. Should be fast and furious. And then our friends there at UMass Dartmouth, they've been putting up a lot of points over the last season plus, and so it'll be interesting to see if Vila Santos is breaking some more records like he did last week.
I saw Coach McCormick last night, in fact.
He popped down to Newport. Was he scouting some guys, or what's going on there?
I'm not allowed to say. Maybe it was just a nice social visit or something like that. So we'll just keep it that way. But it was good to see him. Jen, his lovely lady that was joining him, I'm assuming they are happily in love and everything else. But she seemed very wonderful and kind of a teen mom of sorts for sure.
I'm a fan of Jen's. So, it's worked out pretty good for me.
Well, listen, we're going to come back out here before we go to the next set of games because I did want to talk about that Salve Regina versus, having one of those mornings already, Framingham State game. We have some interviews with Jake Stack starting off here, and you'll see the rest coming up here, about 8 minutes worth of interviews. In lieu of doing it on Twitter, we figured we'd just put it into the live show. We'll do a crunch time highlight situation with this game on our Tuesday show, hopefully Tuesday show, coming up, so stay tuned for that. But nonetheless, here are the interviews. I have to make sure that the sound will play on these interviews, and away we, don't you start. Away we go. Jake, impressive performance on both sides of the ball tonight. Let's talk about the offense, though. And early on, you start out pretty much lights out on fire. Defense gave you some short fields to work with. Tell me about the game flow for you, especially in that first half, and how important it was to jump out early for you guys.
Oh, definitely, for sure. I mean, coming off our win last week, we knew we could put points up on the board. Like you said, we made a few mistakes, whether it was penalties or just offensive mistakes, but defense really helped our butt today, and they put us in a good position, and we got some points up on the board.
Last year was an up and down year for you, obviously. New conference this year and everything else. What did you learn from last year that's helping you right now get into a really good game flow this year?
I think it's a combination of experience, whether it was through last season and in spring ball, and also working with Coach Gill. I mean, I think every single day throughout the winter and spring, I was in his office in between class, after classes, watching film, like critiquing myself, and I'm very hard on myself, so I want to make sure I came out this year, and I knew my expectations were high on myself, and I'm hoping I can keep that going the whole year.
Kevin Gold-Martin, your coach, is a pretty special guy, according to the ranks of all the coaches and players that come across him. Tell me more about your relationship with him.
Oh, it's awesome. It's awesome. It's good, yeah. Like I said, I never have to knock on the door or even ask him. He lets me walk in every single time, and we have a good relationship.
So this year, Joey Moriello is not walking through the tunnel, as they say, but you've got some good running backs. Tell me about your trust in the run game that's allowing you to loosen up the pass game.
Yeah, definitely. We got young Justin Luzzy, Ryan Jans, Matt LeBoy, a few guys. We got trust in them. I mean, they work their butt off in the off season, and things been going good during practice. So anytime we have a run play called in, I know I can trust them.
Well, sir, you've got some big games ahead of you, but go enjoy this one for a couple days here. Thursday night game's an interesting situation, but before you go, you get shout-outs, any family, friends, teammates, whomever you want. Jake?
Oh, for sure. I mean, first off, the whole defense. I mean, they've been playing lights out all year. I mean, statistically, I don't know how they're not the best defense in the nation. Was that 6 picks through 2 games, 2 shutouts, and they've been playing great. And also, obviously, my family and my cousin Derek Domino, who's my quarterback trainer, who put in a lot of work with me this offseason. So he's done a good job, obviously. Yeah, definitely.
Continue. Good luck, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Avery, you want to talk about game changer to start a game. Your interception basically gave your team a short field to work with for a touchdown. I thought it was going to be a pick 6, but you just nipped the out-of-bounds line. Still, great job there. And how important was it for the defense to come out again and set the standard for another shutout in this game?
You know, we always talk about, like, come out firing in the first quarter. You know, we want to keep the intensity up all 4 quarters, 60 minutes of football. Last week I did a bad job getting the flats, so it was one of my focus points. 3rd play of the game, I think. Got my ass to the flat, threw my hand up, stuck to me. I wanted to stay in bounds. I wanted that touchdown, but I'll get that one back.
Next time.
For sure.
You know, this defense has taken some drubbing from people saying, they're a little soft, they give up a lot of points sometimes and everything else. Are you guys kind of wearing that this season to say, no, you're misjudging us? And what did you take into the offseason from last year that's making you guys better right now?
Definitely the senior class, man. Like, we want this so bad. It's our last year playing football. We got a really tight group. We're brothers. I love each and every one of them. We wouldn't be where they are. We wouldn't be where we are today. 2 shutouts is awesome. I love the number 0. I'm just so happy right now.
Well, you know, between the Curry game and this game, things are looking up here. You got this new MAC schedule not too far in front of you, obviously something before that. But, I mean, give me what you guys are building up for. What did you say before the season the out-of-conference schedule would be useful for you guys?
You know, every game's a league game. Every game matters. We want to go out there, get a stop no matter where they put the ball, whether the ball's on the 9-yard line, whether the ball's on the 1-yard line. We're going to get a stop. We're going to get that ball back. 4 interceptions today is awesome. I just love this team, man. I love the seniors. I love everyone. No less than 17 points off interceptions, in fact, tonight. So a very crucial thing in a 29-0 game. Mm-hmm. Avery, I'm going to give you a chance for shout-outs to any family, friends, teammates, whoever might be watching. Go ahead. My dad, who's home right now. I know you're going through a lot, man. I love you and I miss you. My mom, my 2 brothers, they look up to me, and I'm just trying to be a great role model for them. My grandma. This team, all my coaches, all the seniors, just taking me in. I just love it. You are a great role model the way you played tonight, all 60 minutes of this football game. Congratulations to you and continued good luck to you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Okay. I knew you had a good game last week. Then, a Tom Kelly team, you blank a Tom Kelly team. How do you do that?
Our defense has been playing really well. I mean, they're excited. They're flying around. I mean, like Brian Johnson punts the ball, puts it down on the 2-yard line, and then They get backwards for a safety. Then we turn the ball over offensively. They have the ball on the 6-yard line going in. Next thing you know, it's from the 30. You know, I mean, the defenses, they're flying around and they're having so much fun. I think that's the best part about it, is that they care for each other, and because of that, they're loving what they're doing.
Calling a timeout though. They're not the only ones having fun out there. I see you on the numbers almost every down, talking to that team, getting chased back by the referees, rightfully so. I hate to tell you, but you're having fun with this team right
Absolutely.
now. Why?
Absolutely.
What makes this one different?
No, I mean, like even right from the off season, how they were talking to each other and just like, hey fellas, we're doing this for each other, you know. And so it makes you care about it, because you care about these kids, and when they care about each other, that they're willing to do it for each other. I mean, it's just so much fun. And I mean, like, I don't think you might know my personality a little bit. I like to have a little fun as well, you know. But but when they're doing things right, I mean, like usually during camp, you get some phone calls because, like, you know, the dining hall's messy, or the locker rooms are messy, or something like that. I didn't get any phone calls, you know, because they're doing the right things, and you hear them singing right now. You know, they're just in the locker room singing, you know. And I mean, I think that's a difference, and it's a lot of fun when you can be able to do that, especially when you go against good teams too. Like, we shut out 2 good teams that I think are going to be good.
They won't be on America's Got Talent. I just want to burst their bubble right now.
They're not good singers.
Sorry, guys. But Jake Stack was talking about the off-season. He was always in your office doing film study, etc. He seems to glow when he talks about you and the relationship you have with him. Elaborate on this, because we've seen it with Joey Moriello. We've seen it with other players in history with you. I mean, to explain your philosophy in this respect.
Like when I was a player, like I wanted to love my coaches, you know, and I did, you know. I mean, I played for 2 Hall of Fame coaches, you know, and I think that it was because I cared about them, you know. And so at the same time, you know, like, I think that it rings true. If you care about them, they'll care about you. And I mean, you know, I have a daughter and I love her to death, but I have a huge Salve football family, you know, and I think that's the best thing, is that they walk in and out of my office, you know, they pop in, they talk to me, you know, they tell me their problems, you know. And you know, sometimes you're just like, why you let me deal with this, you know. But then there's other times you're like, that's so awesome, you know, that they care about you enough that they include you in that. So, and I mean, you want to have that great happy family.
What we got next here? Is it Rochester?
We have Rochester on Saturday, so we got about 10 days to get ready.
Yeah, which is an odd situation.
So
how do you play this with the 2-day kind of delay before Saturday?
Well, I mean, like, we haven't had a day off, you know. Like, players have had the day off during camps and everything, but us as coaches, we haven't had a day off, so we're looking forward to a day off tomorrow, you know. As coaches, I mean, so we got Newport tonight, which should be nice, you know, and then you know, get some air conditioning in the morning, you know, which will be good as well. But yeah, so we're gonna take a couple of days off and, you know, relax, get the bodies right, and then, you know, then on Sunday, it's, you know, as coaches, we're getting ready for Rochester, and then Monday the rest of the team does.
Can this team win the NUMAC?
We go one day at a time. You know, we go one day at a time. Every day we're taking a choice to try to get ourselves better. I think last year we were focused too much on trying to look too much for the future. So now that's the other part, is we're just each day each moment trying to get ourselves a little bit better. You know, I mean, NUMAC, there's a lot of good football teams in the NUMAC. I haven't even watched enough of their film to be able to answer that question.
It's fun though, to see the new faces, the new film, and everything
it's so
else.
Awesome. Right.
So I can see this. I can see the funness of this all.
Plus, I know a couple of coaches already, and I like them. You know, and I care about these guys already. You know, so it'll be fun competing against them.
Well, sir, 2-0 and some time off, or at least a day off coming up.
It's like a vacation. It's like a vacation.
Well, keep your shirt on. It's going to be a little warm out there tomorrow and everything else, but enjoy it. And best of luck here down the line. I'm sure we'll run into each other before the season's over. Thank you, sir.
Great to see you.
You too. And
what's that?
A little
Is that
gift.
a poker chip?
It is a poker chip. Salve football poker chip. Because you have to be all in to be part of Salve Regina's football squad, and thanks to Coach Gil Martin for providing that to me.
You know, I had to laugh last night when I was listening to I was watching and listening to the broadcast, obviously, and they were talking about, oh man, it's so hot and humid out here. It's like 77, 80. I'm like, come on. It's like 95 down here, man. Like, what's 77 is hot? Come on, man.
The rest of the region was basically in the 90s all day. To go to Newport and get a little bit of a sea breeze that was actually a little cooler than the temperature made it really actually reasonable. But I will say players are cramping on both sidelines all night long. So they weren't ready for those elements, and it is what it is at this point. You saw the result, 29-0 win by Salve Regina over Framingham State. Thanks to everybody for helping me out and getting those interviews together and getting me on the road last night. Got here about 1 a.m., so I've got about 2.5 hours of sleep under my belt right now. And let's get back to Region 2 now and a preview by JB. Go for it, my friend.
Yeah, I think actually this is going to be one of the more interesting regions. I mean, 6 is once again going to have some really big national marquee matchups. When it comes to quality games, it's hard to beat some of these line that we have on the slide here. Tonight we've got TCNJ, which is an up and coming program. Lips aren't working quite just yet. I need more coffee. In the NJAC, and F&M had a big win last week, so that should be interesting. This Saturday though, we've got this list of bunch of these Empire 8. And some overlaps with the landmark, Alfred, Juniata, Susquehanna, Brockport. I'm really looking forward to watching. Salisbury, Muhlenberg should be a great game. Wilkes RPI, same deal. That's John Drock going back up to Troy, New York. He used to be the QB coach for Hobart. He's been there a lot, but this is, I think, the first time he's coached against the Engineers as a head coach. Morrisville Hobart is a big revenge game for Hobart. They lost to Morrisville last year. Morrisville could have maybe been a playoff team if not for that questionable end zone call. Coach Arabian Company, not just the black turf, they've done a great job overall there. So that should be a fantastic defensive football game. Kane, your Sinus, Montclair finally gets on the board. We got our buddies here from Montclair up on the board. They did not have a game in week 1, so this is their season opener. And Christopher Newport at Hopkins, Frank, don't sleep on that game. I know Hopkins just beat Ithaca, but Christopher Newport, who I think was picked second in the NJAC, and they have surprised some teams in the past. They have a very versatile offense. They could give the Blue Jays a little trouble. We'll see. And then the nightcap, Alfred State versus Rochester, kind of a battle of Western New York. And I know that the Yellow Jackets are a little, they're smarting a little bit after that close week 1 loss. They're looking to pick up their first win.
Yeah, I'm sorry to see the Christopher Newport Johns Hopkins games at 6 p.m. because I'll be basically in a kickoff of a 104-degree temperature game down in San Antonio, so I won't be able to really watch much of that. I'm hoping we're not going to have rolling blackouts, which is some of the rumor possibly down in Texas, so that I can actually watch games throughout Saturday without any problems, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. A nice slate here for Region 2. I'm going to just push you over to Region 3. We'll just keep on trucking through here because we do have time constraints today. Let's go on Region 3.
Well, obviously, like we talked about, the headline you can see in the upper right, UMHB versus Trinity on Saturday night is really the big game, and so is Birmingham Southern at Huntington. This is like a battle of Alabama. I think it's also called the Wesley Cup game, a very old school rivalry, and for Birmingham, this could a win here against the Huntington team that really struggled against Barry last week could be a catapult into a potentially big season for them. But elsewhere, I mean, Brevard versus Hampton-Sydney, that should be a great matchup, as well as Catholic Randolph-Macon, the Pat K-Mac Bowl, and Center and Maryville, kind of a battle of Tennessee. Guilford Methodist, it's interesting. There were a bunch of games going on in North Carolina and elsewhere at 6 o'clock, kind of across the board. Belhaven versus Lyon, though I think they're technically in either Alabama or Arkansas. Lyon is new to D3, so I'm still trying to get up to speed on these guys. I think their mascot is the Scots. You'll correct me if I'm wrong, which I usually am. North Carolina Wesleyan, Ferrum, Barry versus LaGrange. I did think for a split second, like maybe I could go to that game, but when I saw it's like about a 7-hour drive back and forth, I was like, maybe not this time. But one of these days I'm going to cross the border into Georgia for one of these, and nightcap will be Hendrix ETBU in Texas. So I guess they're used to the heat there in Arkansas, so it shouldn't be too tricky. And then Texas Lutheran at Southwestern in the nightcap.
I'm going to take Region 4 for you because there's not much to really talk about there, although River Falls trying to not have the letdown against Ohio Wesleyan. And then you look at the rest of these. I think that Linfield-Denison game is a very interesting game. It's going to be a test to see what Linfield's made of right now in terms of Denison is a good team, even if they may have lost some players to graduation. Linfield, they just keep retooling and retooling every year, it seems like. So I'm curious to see how that turns out ultimately for them in that game. You have an interesting game there in Rose-Hulman versus Trine, which is definitely one to watch on Saturday. Otherwise, it's pretty quiet across this board. Albion Bluffton could be interesting after that 7-touchdown performance by Bluffton's quarterback on Saturday. It's quiet, and that kind of is what happens, it feels like, in the OAC land, etc., on week 2 every year for whatever reason. But Linfield-Denison is definitely not an anomaly, but an exception to the rule is probably the better way to say it at this point. So we'll keep our eye out for that one. Region 5, pretty short as well, but I'll give it to you.
Well, yeah, the big game in Region 5 is going to be this Oshkosh-Wheaton game. I know the Thunderbackers are going to pack the stadium. That's a 1 p.m. Central kickoff. That is definitely a game to tune in for, kind of strength versus strength with these powerful offenses and tough defenses that know how to stop the run and can apply a lot of pressure to the quarterback. We have a good rivalry game with our friend Coach Cat against the Blue Boys of Illinois College. That's always a good game every year. Platteville's taking on Dubuque at 7 o'clock. But yeah, not a lot of stuff. It does seem in general, when I was kind of filling out the scoreboard slides, I would say, I don't even know exactly, but maybe 20 to 30 teams are taking this week 2 off as a bye week. Mount Union's not playing, North Central's not playing. There's a lot of teams that are played week 1 that are off now, and then they'll, run through the rest of the season. Other teams have buys later on in the year, but it does feel like at least a decent chunk of the division is taking this weekend off, and that's why you only see, these, 6 to 10 games on each of these sort of featured region slides here.
Then Region 6 seems to be the cream of the crop, at least for the hosting duties. That's how we base our slides on who's hosting, essentially. And you take a look at this. I mean, let's just run down. Wartburg Bethel, come on, that's a big game. St. John's Whitewater, that's a big game. Hardin Simmons coming from Region 3 to La Crosse, that's a huge game. The next ones maybe could be good, but those aren't the highlight games. But those first 3 are games to absolutely watch for every reason in the book. This is where the whole 4 at-large team situation is going to be truly affected by things. The Trinity UMHB game, these 3 games, because ultimately, folks, there's going to be at least one 8-2 team, I think, that is going to go to the playoffs if these teams don't win their conference for whatever reason, but they still have a dropped game in their out-of-conference games, but it's against these strong teams. You're going to see an 8-2 team. Maybe you'll see 2 of them. And if that's the case, the 9-1s that'll be out there will have a little bit of a problem getting into the tournament if their resumes don't match. That's why we're putting so much emphasis on these games right now, because it's going to tell a story of who at 8-2 could be eligible. I keep harping on this. I can't, overstate how important it is right now. Yeah, that's me. Hi. But nonetheless, keep your eye on it. We'll keep walking you through it throughout the next weeks. And JB, you had the opportunity to talk to a key player in the St. John's Whitewater matchup coming up, who led his team from behind in the John Carroll game on Saturday. You got to talk to Alec Ogden, who I really learned to enjoy. I didn't know who the hell he was coming into the season, much like you, and you kind of ask him to right off the bat to start off and tell us who he is in this one. Yeah. But you really learn to enjoy. He's older. He admits it freely coming up in this interview, but he's also very practical about where things are going right now with Whitewater football, and why he's there in the first place, because he didn't have to be back this year to actually do this. Here's more with you and Alec Ogden.
So why don't you tell us all, your path that you came to become the starting QB at Whitewater after being a coach last season. What's the whole story here, man?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for having me on.
Absolutely.
Second off, yeah, I've been all around the country. I played 1 year at Bemidji State. I transferred after my freshman year, went to Middle Tennessee State, a little D1 school,
Yeah,
Conference USA.
sure.
Went there for 3 years, graduated, loved it down there. Still thought I had some time left to go play some football, and why not come back home? I haven't been at home, and that was 4 years. So
Yeah.
talked with Coach Rindle, got on the phone with the OC at the time, who is now the head coach at UW Oshkosh.
Jennings,
I
yeah.
commit,
Jennings.
yeah, and I commit to Whitewater, and 2 days later, he gets a head coaching job
Yeah.
at Oshkosh. So then I have no communication here for a long time until we hire Coach Peshek. Then I get on board, and then I get an email sometime in May about how I got to meet this new grad transfer rule that Division III had, and it was had to graduate in 4 years. It was all non D3 transfer.
No,
So
okay.
it was graduate in 4 years, never miss, don't have any skip or like off semesters, still have years of eligibility left, and the third one was have a 3.0, which my mom was not very happy about. And I graduated with a 2.75, something like that.
Yeah.
And so I petitioned the NCAA somewhere around 8 times.
Mhm.
And so I went to camp not knowing if I was going to be eligible at all.
Yeah.
And I moved in, met a bunch of people, loved the place. As soon as I got here, still didn't know if I was going to be eligible. In about second week of camp, our compliance person came over and said, I'm not eligible. So me and Coach Peshek had already discussed it, that if I wasn't eligible, if I wanted to, I could stick around and be on staff. I mean, I've been to a lot of places. I know a lot of football. So
Sure.
they welcomed it. I became the signal guy, I guess you'd say, like assistant quarterback coach, maybe. I didn't really have a title. I was just kind of a guy hanging out with the boys, and
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed the place. And I get an email sometime in October that now I'm eligible. They changed the rule that held me out for the season, and yeah, I didn't know if I was going to come back and play.
Mhm.
Played out the season, and then I love Whitewater so much that I had to stay. So I came back for my last year.
Well, I'm sure everyone at Whitewater is really excited that you did, because they needed you to win a pretty important game in week 1. I mean, you guys were down at the half to John Carroll on the road. It's first start with the team, kind of a whole new team for 2023. Walk us a little bit through what you guys talked about maybe at halftime, and then that last drive where you really made that kind of game-winning touchdown play. Was that a call that came in from the sidelines, or did you have to improvise? Kind of walk us through that a little bit.
Yeah. So we struggled in the first half, and I struggled in the first half. I mean, I haven't played a game in 3-4 years now.
Okay.
And so I was kind of shaky to start out, maybe a little nerves, maybe being a little nervous to get hit. I don't know what it was, but kind of settled in the second half. And Coach Peshek and all the other quarterbacks, because our quarterback room is phenomenal in terms of brains within football and knowing football and staying on the path, staying on the same page. And we told Coach Peshek, just keep calling the same stuff, stay true to what we're good at. And then the second half, play calling didn't really change very much. We just started executing and started doing our job more. And that last drive, actually the drive before, we had a third down that Nick Wynn, the guy who caught the touchdown, he stopped his route a little bit short, and we had a miscommunication on third down. I went to him on the sideline, and I said, hey, we're coming back to you. We're going to win this game. And we get the call on the 7-yard line to throw that touchdown, and that's all she wrote.
That's all she wrote. That's awesome. Well, yeah, it was definitely an exciting finish, one of the biggest games of last weekend. And because you play at Whitewater, next week is another one of the biggest games weekend. The thing that I thought was interesting is, and hopefully I checked the right website, but I'm pretty sure that the series history between you guys is just 2 games. I think a lot of people would assume, maybe that don't follow D3 football, that the top teams play each other a lot or they meet each other in the playoffs a lot. But the reality is you guys have only played St. John's a couple of times. You beat them at home a couple of years ago and lost to them last season. I mean, what were some of the lessons from, this experience from last year, and kind of what are you taking into this year based on the film that you saw of their game against Trinity?
St. John's always has very good defense and a very explosive offense, which is pretty hard to go against. And last year we struggled offensively. We didn't really execute. Their D line was playing pretty well, or very well, I should say. And we left a lot of points on the board, but this year they're reloaded, same type of deal, good defense, explosive offense, and I'm excited for the game. It's great to get against great competition. I mean, that's what you play for. You don't play for these games where you win by 50. You play for the games that are these close nail biters every single time.
Yeah. And I imagine you guys, meaning the team, I'm sure the coaching staff is excited too, but I believe that this is the home opener at Perkins Stadium, one of the best football stadiums, not only probably in D3, but at least in, the Wisconsin and maybe the Midwest, if not the country. I know it's a very special game day, kind of environment there. If, for the fans who've never been, what do you think that's going to be like on Saturday?
Oh, it's going to be so great. I remember my first game last year being at the Perk. I just only knew of Whitewater, and then we had the first home game. We played Maryhard Baylor. They were number 1 at the time, and the place was rocking. I've never heard a place more loud in my life, and I'm sure it's going to be the same thing on Saturday, where St. John's travels pretty well, so it's going to be a completely packed stadium, and fans are going to watch a really good game.
Yeah, what's the capacity there now? Like 18,000 or something like that? I mean, I'm pretty sure an empty seat.
Last year, I think we had a game where we were pushing 19,000.
Wow.
So you can fit a lot of people. I've never been in a stadium like that. Our fans are so loyal. So it's really fun to have a fan base like that, and it's really fun to play for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned getting to Whitewater, sort of a homecoming. On the roster, it says you're from Marshall, which I guess is close by. Tell us a little bit about your background there.
Yeah, so grew up in Marshall, Wisconsin, just east of Madison, and I've always known about Whitewater. I used to go to the youth camps. Obviously, high school played out. I went to a D2, went to a D1, then came back here. And Coach Rindle has been the guy that I've talked to throughout the whole process. I remember sitting down with him in high school, talking to him about talking about Whitewater and how much he liked it. And at the time, I think he was just a linebackers coach. Then he became the DC. And then my first contact back here after I graduated was Coach Rindle. And so I love this place, and he embodies every single part of this place.
Yeah, no, he seems great. I'm looking forward to finally getting him on the show and chatting with him later this season. I'm pretty sure that we'll get him on at some point. But going back to something you just said, which is funny because I get this question all the time because I live in a state where there really isn't any D3 schools, right? We have the Floridas and the Florida States and the UCFs and all that. And a lot of people down here don't really know what D3 is. You played at the D1 level, the D2 level, and now D3. What would you say are some of the similarities, between the three? And how is D3 really that much different, other than maybe the obvious, scholarship and some of the stadium size and all that kind of stuff? But like, where do you see sort of the similarities from your experience?
I think there's more of a team culture at D3. I mean, at D2, I had a great team culture at Bemidji State. Maybe not as much at Division I as you would at Whitewater. So here, game speed, maybe guys being fast. That's the difference between D1, D2, and D3. Just speed of the game. But everybody wants to play football. Everybody loves football, and I think at D3, guys love football so much more. Just you got to be dedicated. It's a sport that you're not getting paid for, and you got to love the guys around you, and you got to love the sport.
Yeah. And so, I mean, obviously, hopefully for Whitewater, the end of the season results in a trip to Salem, maybe some walnut and bronze. But have you given any thought of, what life after football is going to look like? Do you want to get back into coaching based on last year's experience, or are you just going to kind of wait and see where the season takes you?
Yeah, I don't know. I always joke with the coaches that I'm not going to come back and coach, but I really have no idea. But I have a degree in construction management. I'm getting my master's right now in business and business administration with an emphasis in finance. So the door is really open for me. I actually had to turn down a job to come back here to play. I had a job in
How'd your
Madison.
parents react to that? Was your dad?
My parents were fine with it. My dad was sort of frustrated, but my mom knew I could stay in. She would keep me on the path to get my master's, and
there you go.
But so construction, staying in football, I got a lot of options.
All right. Well, you can tell your mom that you spoke to an old guy tonight who got his MBA, worked out pretty good. So I think you're doing the right thing. Well, I really appreciate the time, Alec. I don't know if you've ever seen our program or not, but we have this tradition that we've been doing for 15 years now, where we always like to let the student athletes do shout outs to any friends, family, coaches, whomever it might be watching. So the floor is yours, Alec Ogden.
Oh, wow. Shout out to Carrie Corello. She's the basketball coach here. She's also she's the compliance person we have, and she worked really hard for me to get eligible, and so I owe a lot to her.
Yeah.
Shout out to my quarterback coach over the summer, Garrett Vingy, longtime friend, and he's helped me out a lot with staying healthy and getting my movements on and throwing every week. Shout out to the parents, of course, and I don't know. I think that's it.
Yeah, you can't leave one. There's actually 5 names that maybe you might want to remember, and I think they're your offensive line. And so, who are those?
Shout out to the boys. Shout out to the boys up front. I let them. They know I love them. They know I love them. It's tough love, but I'm the oldest man on the team, so I really enjoy being around all these guys, and I enjoy being around the young guys. So I just love this. Whitewater's the best school I've ever been to. I really enjoy it. So shout out to Whitewater. Whitewater's best.
All right, right on. Well, good luck this Saturday against St. John's. I know the rest of D3 Nation will be watching and keeping tabs on where these Warhawks are headed. Looks like with you at the helm, they're headed in a good direction. So thanks a lot, Alec, and we'll look forward to catching up with you and the Warhawks later on this season.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
Yeah.
So I got 2 takeaways from that. First off, like I said it before, you really grow to like Alec Ogden because we knew nothing. Okay, it was just like, who is he?
Story.
And it absolutely is. And he obviously has a passion for the game to do what he's done and go through what he's gone through and everything else. So. You learn to root for these players as you get to know them better because, you hear this story and he's sincere. It comes across fully sincere why he's doing this, what he went through in the first place. And congratulations to him to, go this route. Hopefully he has a job still waiting for him after this year or the season plays out. But good for him. Number 2. I am so freaking proud of you, sir, because that was what by far, actually, your best interview ever. We worked on making sure you could fly solo yesterday, knowing what we were up against. We still wanted to get our interview with Alec Ogden in. Sorry I couldn't join you with that, Alec. I would love to talk to you, too, but circumstances were what they were. We still wanted that interview. We got that interview thanks to you and a very professional job. I mean, you look back in the last 13 years that you've been a rolling co-host here with me, and it's great to see your maturation in this whole broadcast game. You're kind of the color commentator. We know that. But, from time to time, color commentators do these interviews, and you did a knockout job. So congratulations to you, my friend, on that.
Thank you.
Behind me, you can see the sun is starting to rise. I can tell you my earpiece is about to die. So we've got a bunch of different issues going on right now. So knowing that, we need to roll. We both probably need to duck down a little bit because what's over our head is kind of taking us out of the picture a little bit. Yeah, exactly. So I'll slouch, you slouch, and we'll start some music here momentarily. In fact, I think here it is. The clock not working. We'll go on the honor system, 6:24 right now a.m. Eastern time. So we'll say we have to be done by 6:36 on this. And we'll roll to the first game. Once I find where it is on my screen, I have done so. And it is Regions 1 versus 2, Ithaca at Endicott 2 versus 1. If you want to go the right order, you start this week.
Well, I think a lot of people are going to be maybe rooting for an Endicott upset at Ithaca after last week. Maybe the Bombers, who knows? But I have a feeling that Ithaca will travel well. They'll get their act together. It's going to be a tough game for both teams, but I still think Ithaca will come away with a, let's say, 24-17 kind of win.
Endicott's a tough place to play at, but was it RPI that had to go there
Yep.
win against them at one point in a playoff game? So Liberty League teams can go there and win, I believe is the point I'm trying to get to here. And so I'm going to give Ithaca the slight nod here by the final score of 24-17. Up next, if I can get this right, is going to be Husson at Springfield. So, to me, tough game because you just don't know who Husson is year to year anymore. So I'm going to have to go on what happened last week, and we have a throwing ability of a quarterback right now for Springfield. Not many passes, but he had that 80-plus yarder.
60 yards.
Yes, so classic Springfield right there. But Husson, it's going to be tough for them, I think, to contain Springfield. Could be a quick game on the clock. I'm going to give Springfield the win, 24-20.
Yeah, I think the Pride will probably keep that high-powered offense rolling. I like them to win, say, 35-14.
Two toughies in Region 2. First, Susquehanna at Brockport. You start.
Well, we thought that Susquehanna was going to beat Utica in the playoffs last year, and they didn't. They looked really good in week 1. Brockport, won big against Buff State, but I watched a little bit of that game, and they struggled here and there. Well, this is a tough one, but I think I'm going to go with the River Hawks. Little inside joke there for D3 fans.
Sure they're not the Falcons?
Yeah, it's going to be not the Falcons, yeah. Not the, yeah, okay. I'll say 35-28.
Brockport is so tough at home. I'm going to give Brockport the edge here. Here we go. This is where you could get him back, my friend. I'm going to give Brockport the slight edge here, 28-24 in favor of Brockport. Next one is a tough one, like I said, Salisbury at Muhlenberg. And I'll tell you, I'm inclined based on week 1 to go with Muhlenberg here. I think we see a quarterback that can handle this game for Muhlenberg. And, boy, I'm going to, low scoring, 21-20. It's going to be close. Muhlenberg.
Yeah, I think last weekend what was a good reminder for me is how strong the Centennial has been and is. And so I think the only reason why I'd also pick Muhlenberg is because they're the home team and they're the Centennial team. And traditionally, the Centennial has just been stronger than not traditionally, at least the last couple of seasons, they have been much stronger than the NJAC. So I'll take the home team. I agree with you. I think it's going to be a very tight game. But Coach Milne and the Mules, I think, will just have enough home cooking to eke out like a 35-31 win.
Then one of the games of the week by far, UMHB at Trinity, Texas. You start it.
Well, neither team is going to, the heat's not going to bother them in the sense that they're used to it. And I think Trinity comes into this game with a chip on their shoulder because, like I said last week, they should have beaten St. John's. They had them beat. They blew it. They should have never lost that game. And so I think Tucker Horn and company are going to come out and really try to stick it to a UMHB team that's kind of limping along. Their third-string quarterback is now the starter. Not really sure what's going on with that. But Mary Hardin Baylor did not look like the same kind of program. I'll take Trinity, Texas to actually win this one in pretty handily, 35-14. Maybe 21.
I'm curious to see if Caleb Parmel got his eligibility back for the first half of the game with respect to that targeting call. Well, I'll find out. I'll find out this evening. I get a chance to go to the second half of their practice as long as I get in safely and everything else this afternoon. So I'll find out what's going on there and see if I can report it or whatever. But nonetheless, it's not just about Caleb Parmel, even though he is a stud. out there. I think it's about Tucker Horn. I think it's about everybody on that team, that especially the fifth-year seniors. I'm going to give that advantage to Trinity as well. Trinity wins this game 31-17, which just feels strange to say about UMHB on the other side of a scoreboard like that. Now, staying in the SAA at least with Birmingham Southern at Huntingdon, I'll tell you something. The way that McMurray game went last week, you would maybe start to shy away from Birmingham Southern. That fourth quarter was ugly for them. But then you look at how Huntington's second half went against Barry, and you're like, oh my God. So we have a war of attrition here a little bit. At least Birmingham Southern walked away with a win. I'm going to give the slight nod here at home to Huntington, which I don't usually do. I think a lot of people think that I'm down on Huntington, but I think they have the ability to bounce back here. 27-20.
All right. Well, I guess I'll go the opposite way. We've got our Go Gold for the month of September. Pediatric cancer awareness. Prayers up to our little angel Mike Weinstein. I'm going to go with BSC. I think that they have a little more offensive consistency, and even though they kind of fell asleep in the fourth quarter against McMurray, I'm sure the coaches are going to be on that. It'll be another tight game, but I think they'll eke it out 27-24.
5 minutes left. Regions 4-6 crossover. Linfield in 6, Denison in 4 at Denison. Go ahead.
I mean, I'm going to have to go with Linfield on this, just in the sense that they're still a top 10 team until proven otherwise. Their quarterback from last season is back. They're probably going to put up, an air raid kind of a thing, although it might take them a while to get situated in a new environment. I haven't been out to Ohio in a while, so maybe a slow start, but I like the Cats to win it late. Not late, but they'll pull away in the second half, let's say 35-17.
Linfield learned a lot last year against Huntingdon in that trip where they kind of got a little sick because of the weather and everything else. Denison, the weather's going to be improving, I believe, so not nearly as hot as it's been the last week. So I think Linfield travels better this time and learns from their mistakes from last year's long travel game that they had. I'll give Linfield the edge here, 40-27. Rose-Hulman at Trine. Tough one here. I'm a believer that Trine pops every so often, every other year at the worst. And so I think we're on a year where Trine does pop here, especially at home. I'm going to give Trine the advantage in this game by the final score of 34-31.
Yeah, this is a Saturday night game. They smoked Anderson 61-0 on the road last week, I think. The Thunder are going to be jacked up. The Thunderstruck, the smoke, all the fireworks. If you tune in for this game, their entrance is great because they really go all out. So I'll take the Thunder to win this one, say 35-21.
5-6 crossover. Wheaton 5 hosting Oshkosh in 6. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is where my big mouth could get me in trouble because I've always sort of been tough on Wheaton, and going into the preseason we saw it's Giovanni Weeks and who else? Well, we'll find out Saturday, but Kobe Berghammer and company, 7 passing touchdowns, that receiving core. You got to give the home team a lot of credit, but I just feel like this year's Titans team is maybe something else. So I'm going to go with the Titans. I might regret this, 21-17.
I'm going to go down in flames possibly this week, or I'm going to have a huge lead coming out of this week. I'm going to Wheaton here. I think this is the team that could beat North Central, in fact, in the Little Brass Bell game in a couple weeks. And so I'm going to give Wheaton the slight edge in this game. I'm going to say 25-21 in the final score of this one. Running out of time here, Region 5, Lake Forest at Illinois College. I'm going to give Lake Forest the edge on the road on this one. Final score, the Catanzaros get more than 0. In fact, they'll get a 3-0, 30-21.
Yeah, I'll take the Foresters, say 42-14.
2 huge games left. Region 6 flat out is St. John's at UW Whitewater. Go ahead.
Well, Whitewater beat St. John's the last time they came to the Perk. It's going to be probably a 18,000 plus sellout crowd. Lower scoring game. I just don't. There won't be Johnny Magic there. I don't imagine that's going to happen. I think Alec Ogden and company will win this one. 28 to 24, Frank. My favorite score from last year.
Yeah, I'm going Whitewater. I just, even though my rankings show differently here, I think the home nature of this game for Whitewater flips the edge here. If it was played at St. John's, I think I said this last week in the Trinity game. That's why I gave St. John's the edge.
Same thing. Yep.
So why am I? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. In this one, Whitewater wins 20-17. A close game, lower scoring. Final game: Hardin-Simmons from 3 at UW La Crosse in 6. I've got to pick Hardin-Simmons based on all of my rhetoric about La Crosse at this point. So we'll really go up in flames or down in flames in some of this stuff here. Ultimately, I think Hardin-Simmons and Galen Glenn are ready here for some challenges. Here's a big one, indeed. I give Hardin-Simmons the edge by a final score of 34-30.
Well, yeah, I was starting to get a little nervous when I saw that score against Dakota State. So with the home team and the fact that I might need to pick up a game potentially, I'm gonna do a flyer. I'm gonna pick the Eagles and see if they can't win one at home. But it's gonna be a tough one. If they pull it off, it's gonna be like a 21-17 type of game.
Not bad. I think we just missed by about a half a minute on the 12 games there, so good job. I've got to literally get in my car in the next 23 minutes, so I got to finish packing back up here and get going. So I'm going to give you 60 seconds to tell folks if you had an option to watch games on Saturday. There are a couple of games on Friday you should watch, obviously, folks. What would you do? What are you going to lead them to in terms of how to watch Saturday action here?
Well, I would probably start off with that noon Endicott Ithaca game to kind of get going, and then kind of work my way into the 2 p.m. WEAC and Midwest sort of games. The Wheaton Oshkosh game is going to be a huge game, and then you got all the way till Saturday night to wait for some of these really big time prime time double headers with Birmingham Southern taking on Huntington, and you've got the game that you'll be at, UMHB Trinity. Can the Tigers finally beat the Crusaders? It hasn't happened yet. I think in 3 or 4 tries. This is their opportunity to kind of plant the flag, and the state of Texas is like, hey, we're the team to beat here now. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But it's kind of it's a slow burn on Saturday. It's going to be a long day of games with some breaks in between. So, hydrate and get ready, because it's going to be a great week 2 action for D3 football.
Can't wait for it myself. I literally flying out of here. So, folks, thanks for joining us. JB, thanks for getting this all together with me. We kind of, by the seat of our pants, figured out what to do with this, and I think it made for a great show. Twitter had some issues, but I think it will resolve later for the recording. If not, it's on Facebook. It looks good on Facebook, and we'll fix the other things later. So make sure you send it to your friends. We need you to help us get our brand out there so folks know where to go. Thanks to the 3rd Division, I think it was, that I did a nice little ad about us in D3Football.com. Great job there. Thank you very much for that. Folks, wish me well getting down to that heat. JB, we'll talk to you throughout the weekend. We'll see you all on Twitter as we post videos from the game I'm at, which is, again, UMHB at Trinity. See you this weekend. See you Tuesday for Crunch Time.